all my faculties. I welcome you all to Nagpur. I bring greetings from Omega Hospital along with my directors Manisha, Parul and Ashish. We all know that declining fertility is becoming a major concern for all of us. And there are, if you just look at the female part of the declining fertility, there are three situations which are there. One is premature ovarian insufficiency, which is actually a premature ovarian failure, but we call it insufficiency because failure is not a good word, where there is a very high FSH, very low AMH, and the patient is not ovulating. Second is diminished ovarian reserve, where FSH is high, AMH is low, but still the ovaries are working. That means we have a hope, and we are actually discussing this hope today, where we can do the best to the patient so that patients they deliver and they are happy. And the third is of course hypogonadotrophic hypogonadism, where the ovaries are not working because of the cause in the central nervous system. So next 20 minutes we will be discussing what every gynecologist, not only IVF consultant, should know about diminished ovarian reserve. So ovarian reserve means the number of oocytes which are available for fertilization at a given point of time, and diminished ovarian reserve predicts the future response to ovarian stimulation. But this is very important, that poor results do not predict inability to achieve a live birth. That means you should never say that you will never conceive to any woman coming to you, and you should never say that you cannot father a child even if there is azoospermia to any man coming to you. This is something which we all should keep in mind. This is a very important point which I can say as a continuation of what Alka has already said, that you have to be empathetic with the patients and never say that you cannot conceive. This is something which has got a very wrong impact on the mental status of the patient. Now it should not be too early and it should not be too late. So we'll just start with a discussion of a case of a Neha who is 32-year-old, married since 3 years, trying for conception since 8 months, and she is experiencing short cycles of 22 days since last 6 months. She comes to you for your opinion, and what is your plan of action? The first thing which strikes to your mind is diminished ovarian reserve, and for this you need a high index of suspicion. Why? Because the patient is Indian, that is Indian ethnicity, and her age is 32, that is more than 30. You do investigations, you find that her AFC is low and her AMH is also low. If you ask her to go for IVF, it is too early because it is just she is coming for the consultation for the first time. So you may have to take a decision depending on the situation. You may go for time intercourse or you may go for IUI followed by IVF. So the decision depends on the situation. Now, how do you define diminished ovarian reserve? There was previously a Bologna criteria which is not very popular nowadays, but there is Poseidon criteria which is used commonly nowadays, and this definition of DOR is based on the stimulation response. So basic thing we all should know is that you need to stimulate the ovary to see the response and then categorize the patient depending upon the response to the stimulation. So one thing we all should know that you have to stimulate the ovaries. And if you are doing IVF, then you do IVF cycle. But if you are not doing IVF, you can actually do time intercourse, or even you can do IUM. You give gonadotropin injections, clomiphene citrate to the patient, and see the response. And depending on the response, you make it a habit. Start doing classification of your patient in which category your patient fits. And this is very important. Once you do your first cycle of stimulation, you know exactly where your patients fit. First is Poseidon group 1, where the age is less than 35 and everything is normal and you don't get a response. This is an unpleasant surprise, the surprise which you don't want. Group 2 is where age is more than 35 but everything is normal, you don't get a response. Again, unpleasant surprise. Group 3 is you know that there is a problem. Though her age is less than 35, her AMH is low, her AFC is low, and then you are not getting the response as expected. And group 4 is where the age is more than 35 and you are not getting the response as expected. So these are the 4 groups. First 2 groups are unpleasant surprises and 3 and 4 is the group where the problem is expected, anticipated. You know that there is some problem, and that is the reason why the patients are coming to you. Now, as I told you, even if you are not doing IVF, you can still stimulate the ovary and can predict and can think of diminished ovarian reserve. Whether it is IVF or not IVF, you have to predict the ovarian response, and prediction depends on 3 S's. These three S's are extremely important in our day-to-day practice. One is age, second is AMH, and third is AFC. Out of these 3 S's, age is not considered as a very reliable predictor. And see these guidelines which are given by 2019 ESHRE guidelines, which clearly say that AFC alone and AMH alone is reliable predictor of ovarian response or ovarian reserve. That means this is a strong guideline which says that for prediction of high and low response, AFC and AMH is recommended over the other ovarian reserve testing. I know you all love FSH and we all do FSH in our day-to-day practice, but remember what the guidelines say, FSH alone is not reliable. Even the age alone is not reliable. BMI alone is not a predictor, and progesterone is also not a predictor, but AMH and AFC are the 2 most reliable indicators of ovarian reserve testing. And this is what I have told you, this is the self-explanatory chart, and you all should take a photograph of this chart if you really wish to understand the basics. AMH is something which is not intercycle and intracycle dependent, and that is the beauty of AMH. So you can do AMH testing on any day of the cycle. If you want to do FSH, you have to do it on day 2, and if the patient is already on OC pill or if any other drug she is taking, that might have influence on the FSH report but not on the AMH report. Second point is hyper-response. Hyper-response, it is okay. FSH high, that means the patient is having DOR. But hyper-response you cannot predict by FSH. It is the AMH which is the best predictor of hyper-response. So PCO patients you can diagnose very well with AMH. And as far as the ultrasound is concerned, you need a good sonorist. If you are trained in sonography, this is the best tool, and you don't need anything if you have a good ultrasound machine. As far as age is concerned, age is a good predictor, a very cheap predictor, provided patient tells you the correct age. And that is the universal problem, we all know this. So you have to take the Aadhaar card to know the correct and the exact age of the patient, but age is a very good predictor provided she tells you the correct age. So this is the at a glance estimation of ovarian reserve by various tests. Now, as I have told you, age is the obvious cause of diminished ovarian reserve, and as the age advances, the ovarian reserve goes down. But if you look at the age factor, there is one very important point which you all should know, that Poseidon group 1 and Poseidon group 3, the patients with age less than 35 years with diminished ovarian reserve, they respond well to your treatment because the age is on our side. And therefore, whatever oocytes we get good quality oocytes. Therefore, you should be happy if the patients are coming to you at the age less than 35 years. If the age is more than 35 years, then the situation is not that good. And why I am telling this, Indian ethnicity is something which is important. As I discussed with you, a case of Neha, she is Indian, therefore we have a problem. It all started with a paper which appeared in Fertility and Sterility in 2014, which says that ovarian age in Indians is 6.3 years ahead as compared to Spanish women. And this is really an eye-opener. आंखें खोल देने वाला पेपर था ये. Why? Because a ovarian reserve of a 32-year-old Indian woman is equal to a 38-year-old Spanish woman. That means we are lagging behind by 6 years, or our ovarian reserve is going ahead by 6 years, and time is ticking. So all friends, you should take this as a social responsibility and start talking about the ideal age of marriage in your OPD and start talking about the ideal age of childbearing in your OPD. 2 years back, I was invited by RSS Supremo Sri Mohanji Bhagwat about the ideal age of marriage. They were discussing there is a change in the law. Now the ideal age of a girl should be not be 18 years, but it should be 21 years minimum age. So regarding that, there was a discussion, and I told them that you should, through your RSS platform, tell people and try to convince people that please get married by the age of 21 to 25, and please have children before the age of 30, because after the age of 30 it is really a very sad situation, and we experience such problems that patients they land up ultimately the donor oocyte program, which is something which we really don't want. So this is the ethnicity which is important, and then there is endometriosis, which has got a impact on the ovarian age and ovarian surgeries. Jajit, welcome to Nagpur. Shall I continue? Okay, because I was told that Jajit has only 20 minutes window, so okay, thank you so much. So endometriosis is one more factor which is known to have its impact on ovarian reserve, and then ovarian surgeries like ovarian cystectomy, dermoid surgeries, PCO drilling, all have their impact. So please friends, don't underestimate the power of ovary, and respect ovary. Ovary will respect you. Respect your treatment, and ताली एक हाथ से नहीं बजती. Now you see all the papers related to ovarian surgeries. Guidelines of endometriosis, they very classical guidelines, they clearly mention that endometrioma larger than 3 centimeter you should not touch. Even if it is bigger endometrioma, you should not touch unless and until there is a pain. Because pain is known to have its effect, but otherwise do not touch the endometrioma. And if at all you want to do the surgery, please counsel the patient that there is a possibility that the ovarian reserve may go down, and then only go for surgery. As far as the dermoid cyst is concerned, it is said that the dermoid smaller than 6 cm should not be removed. As far as the ovarian cysts are concerned, this is a paper in Fertility Sterility which says that any ovarian cyst you should not touch unless it is required. And इन्हीं लोगों ने हमारे PCO ड्रिलिंग को बदनाम किया है, जिन्होंने ओवरी को जलाकर उसका ओवरी रिजर्व कम कर दिया. और this is something which we all should remember. Respect ovaries. Ovary will respect your treatment. Do not underestimate the power of ovary. Then tuberculosis, obesity, smoking, all these things are important. Non-PCO obese are the patients where they require a larger dose of gonadotropins and they may have diminished ovarian reserve. And smoking, वक्त के साथ बदलना सीखो. Smoking की history लेना शुरू करो, because now many girls, not only in Mumbai, Delhi, but even in Nagpur, they are regularly smokers. They are smoking, so that is going to have its impact on the ovarian reserve. Uterine artery embolization, radiotherapy, chemotherapy, all have its impact. And the last but not the least are the two important factors, that is genetic and immunological causes. We all should keep in mind that there can be a genetic cause like FSH receptor polymorphism, or there can be a immunological cause like anti-ovarian antibodies or anti-thyroid antibodies or adrenal antibodies. So you should investigate the patient for all these causes whenever you are treating a patient of diminished ovarian reserve. So this is for everybody. Everybody, irrespective of whether you are doing IVF or not IVF, you should know this. Now we will discuss the various situations. A case of IT couple, married since 6 years, trying since only 6 months, comes from US to India, and you are a very popular gynecologist and easily available on phone call. So they'll just give a call that I just want to, and the parents they say that you just go and meet doctor, and then the guys might understand they are not planning conception at all. So for these patients, for IT patients, maybe TI is the best treatment for passing time. But if the patient comes to you, she is married since 4 years, 32 years age, 1.1 AMH, and you talk about IVF and they give a typical look. IVF, इतने जल्दी patient डॉक्टर तो पैसा कमाने के पीछे पड़ा है. So maybe you may give 2 cycles of IUI and then go for IVF. But if the patient comes to you with 37 years age, AMH 0.9, married since 8 years, IUI done 8 times somewhere, and she says, doctor मला माझं मूल हवा आहे. So time is ticking. You don't have time. Immediately you have to take her for IVF. So that is how the decision depends upon the situation. As we know, सास भी कभी बहू थी, वैसे ही पेशेंट में से मैं भी कभी पीसीओ थी. And this is what happens many times. And patient is they are in that idea that they are a case of PCO, so they don't have problem of diminished organ reserve. But at age of 36, you do her AMH and you will find that her AMH is 0.6. So even PCO patients can land up in DOR as the age advances. Maybe they may land up a little late, but they may have diminished organ reserve. So whatever may be the reason, you have to treat the patients and you have to start with the adjuvants. Before adjuvants, I would like to tell you about something like ovarian rejuvenation. There is a way to do it in a better way. Just find it. So you can just do the ovarian rejuvenation by injecting PRP into the ovary, and this is a case of diminished ovarian reserve with tubercles on the and hydrosulfings, and we did her delinking and we did her PRP installation and we got the results. Nothing succeeds like success. So you can see a very classical case with hydrosulfings with tubercles on the tube, and the tube is damaged. You delink the tube, do the PRP and take her for IVF and you may get the results. So Dr. Parul Savji presented this paper last year and got gold medal on ovarian PRP. And Dr. Kalpana Cheta, my MHS fellow now consultant working with me, she has presented this thesis for our MHS fellowship. So ovarian PRP is something which is doing wonders. Now coming back to adjuvants, you should know that as far as adjuvants are concerned, there are two. This is a basic thing which we all should know, that there are two controls on the ovulation. One is endocrine control and second is paracrine control. We start gonadotropin and so the ovarian stimulation starts. But the ovarian response is there even before that. And this is something that is a paracrine control. And here the primordial follicles, they go into primary follicles, then secondary follicles, and then small antral follicles, and then antral follicles, and then they ovulate. So this area or this paracrine control is gonadotropin independent. But during this period of 120 days or 3 months, you can try adjuvants like metformin PCO, testosterone, DHEA, etc. to get good quality oocytes and to get better yield. Now, adjuvants in DOR, can we use it in all the treatment forms? My answer is yes. But if you look at the guidelines say no. So you see the guidelines, all the guidelines they say, the 2019 ASHA guidelines say that there is no role of growth hormone, no role of testosterone, no role of DHEA, no role of aspirin, no role of sildenafil, no role of antioxidants. But we agree to disagree. I must say that we follow the guidelines which are led by experts, but sometimes individualized approach do play a role in the management, and we do give these adjuvants and we get the results, and ultimately at the end of the day what we want is good result and take home baby. Now very important point is the duration of marriage. As I told you, 3 S's: age, AMH and AFC. But these 3 S's will work only when the Raja-Rani chemistry is equally important. It is good. If the Raja-Rani chemistry is not good, then these 3 S's will not work. Like suppose the patient initially will have tri-weekly sexual intercourse, and the same couple will try weekly after 3 to 4 years of marriage.
Sir, sorry to interrupt. You have to finish your point.
Yeah, I'll finish in 2 minutes. Okay. So tri-weekly becomes tri-weekly, and this is something which we don't want. So people just don't understand that the duration of marriage plays an important role as far as fertility is concerned. So I'll finish in 2 minutes because our speaker Jaydeep is with us. But last 2-3 points: whether you are doing time intercourse, IUI or IVF, you should remember one point, that 2 drugs are playing key role nowadays. One is letrozole, because letrozole is good for endometrium. Letrozole also increases the intra-ovarian androgen level and therefore gives you good quality oocyte. Therefore, in PCO, letrozole is the drug of choice. Even in DOR, letrozole is the drug of choice. And always prefer HMG over FSH, because HMG contains LH activity, which gives you a robust response. So if you are doing time intercourse, you can try with letrozole, and you have to start ovulation studies early, because there is a early recruitment of follicles. So start it from day 8. and then do ovulation studies, and then you may add DHEA, aspirin, and of course progesterone after the ovulation has taken place. What about IUI? Of course, IUI has a role to play, and IUI is good for group 3 postnatal criteria patients because there are many papers which say that IUI does well in diminished ovarian reserve, especially in group 3 patients where the age is less than 35 and the DOR is already established. And last but not the least is IVF, and I will not talk much about IVF, but I must say that in IVF there are some points which are important. One is some people are preferring agonist protocol nowadays because you get a good cohort of follicles, but antagonist is all-time favorite. Another thing which I would like to tell you is there is something called as modified natural cycle protocols where you give minimum drugs and you save upon cost and you get good results. And another thing which is very important, that is a research strategy, is there are waves in the ocean. So similarly there are waves of follicular recruitment. और इन वेव के साथ तुमको you have to ride on this wave and you have to take the advantage of these waves, and you can do 2 cycles of stimulation in one cycle. This is more popular in, of course, cancer patients, but people are doing this in diminished ovarian reserve as well. So and of course something like embryo banking and embryo pooling, which we are doing in our day-to-day practice regularly. Embryo freezing and oocyte freezing is again a new thing which is coming, and Apple, Facebook and all the multinational companies, and now even Indian IT companies are offering oocyte freezing as they say that you freeze oocytes now and then plan your pregnancy later, and this is something which is coming out. You have to accept this fact that this is coming and this is actually a good option. And last but not the least is of course donor program, which is nobody wants, but maybe you have to go for it. It gives very good success rate. Before I sign off, I'll talk about some shocking facts. What are changing trends which are witnessed at our center, and everyone is experiencing these trends. Last week we recruited a 40-year young girl seeking a match for oocyte cryopreservation. She is yet to get her Sapno ka Rajkumar. She may plan her marriage and pregnancy later on, but now she wants to preserve her oocytes. Then one more patient came to me with marital conflicts. She is married. She has marital conflicts and she is not yet divorced. She says, I want to preserve my oocytes because maybe I may plan marriage. And more patients are coming with diminished ovarian reserve at very young age. This is another point which is really shocking. Last year at Omega Clinic, we had 4 unmarried girls, young girls coming with DOR. Nowadays, 21 to 25 years patient coming with scanty menses and short cycles. We just do their AMH levels just to know what is the ovarian reserve status. And we found that all the 4 patients, their AMH was between 1.1 and 1.5, sometimes was 0.4, 0.6, and their age was 22 to 25. One of the patient was a blogger, travelog writer, photographer. She says marriage is not on cards, so please do go for oocyte freezing. And the 3 other patients, we ask them to marry early and conceive as early as possible. That is the social responsibility which we can do. So DOR is the major cause of concern, and the number of patients with DOR is rising day by day. So you have to catch them young, treat them aggressively, take it as a social responsibility, and as we know, all is well that ends well. Everyone loves and wants happy end of the story. So that is what we can give by doing aggressive treatment for the patients of diminished ovarian reserve. Thank you very much. Thank you.